You know how much the marketing world has changed in the past few years, right? That's why you listen to the show, to stay on top of the latest trends. Well, today's episode takes your trend watching to a whole new level, as Australia's leading consumer futurist and I have a solid conversation about exactly what you should be doing to supercharge the marketing of that beautiful business of yours. It's a sci-fi type episode 454 of the award-winning Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Yeah, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show, where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of marketing stargazing. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. You, infinitely more importantly, are a motivated business owner ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it absolutely deserves to be. And if that's not enough and you're itching to fast track your marketing, then let's connect with a one-on-one coaching session, which you can book with me over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Big episode today. Consumer futurist Amanda Stevens joins us in a wide-ranging chat about how the marketing world has changed so much over the past few years and how you can make the most of those changes. And another listener shares what marketing is working for them and wins over $1,000 worth of prizes in this week's Monster Prize draw. As per usual, team, there is marketing GOLD dripping. Yes, dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Let's meet Amanda Stevens. Now, here's some things you need to know about Amanda. She's one of my best mates. She is an ace chick, and it was absolutely instrumental. And I'm going to say this publicly because I want to, and she deserves it. She was instrumental in helping me through a marriage separation I went through last year. So, Steve-O, I know you're listening because you like listening to your interviews. Thank you. Another thing you need to know about her is we are competitors, which I love. She speaks at around 100 conferences each year. I don't speak at that many. She talks about marketing. I talk about marketing, and we help each other along. I love that. Steve-O also, you'll hear me call her Steve-O. That's her, it's an abbreviation of her surname. That's what us Aussies do. She runs workshops, marketing workshops. She coaches. She's often seen as in the media as a commentator on the state of small business in Australia. She calls herself a consumer futurist, and she spends her waking hours understanding how business owners like you can make the most of current consumer trends, which are changing all the time, right? So this chat is all about how you can embrace those trends for the best. All up, Amanda Stevens is one of the best marketing brains in the country. So I started off by asking Amanda what she thought small business owners are getting wrong in regards to their marketing in 2019.
I think a couple of things. I think firstly, a lot of small business owners, in fact, probably most small business owners, are marketing the way they were 12 months ago. And that's a problem because...
Or 12 years.
Well, yeah, that's a bigger problem. But even 12 months is a problem because consumers are changing so rapidly now that what worked 12 months ago is potentially not going to work at all now. So I think that not evolving their marketing is probably the biggest issue, not reevaluating it and playing it safe. I think, we're going to talk today about stepping outside your comfort zone with your marketing, which is so necessary now. So I think that, I think playing it safe and doing what they've always done, expecting to get the results that perhaps they have always got.
There you go. It's a good quote. That playing it safe, in one of my keynotes, I talk about podcasting. I talk about video, as you do. And I used to say as a call to action at the end of a chunk around podcasting or video marketing, I would say, maybe take a look at video or maybe start listening to some podcasts. I've changed those slides, which now say start a podcast, start video marketing. There's no more excuses. I'm not suggesting this conversation is all about those two forms of content marketing, but my point is stop tiptoeing around. If they're long-time listeners to the show, if they're consuming other marketing content, reading books like yours, they should be implementing some of these braver marketing ideas that are going to lead to better results.
Absolutely. I mean, video is not a nice to have anymore. It's just a must do. If you are trying to market your small business without using video, you are climbing a mountain that's far steeper than it needs to be.
Yeah.
That's just the reality. And I think there's, I talk about the 6 videos you need in your business, and a lot of people say, I just don't know where to start. And I say, just start. It doesn't need to be perfect.
It's such a cliche, but sometimes cliches are there. Cliches are cliches for a reason, right? And just starting is, I was talking to a guy yesterday, Andrew Banks from Shark Tank, past guest to this show, and he wanted to do some videos, and he's of this mindset, it's got to be TV, right? It's got to be Hollywood production. So, mate, as you're boarding a plane and you need to shoot a video off for some client or something, get the smartphone out and say, hey, it's Andrew here, I'm boarding the plane. Just wanted to send a quick note because people love that. There's a bit of authenticity behind the scenes, bit of voyeurism.
Yeah.
So, okay, one of the points, so what are they getting wrong? The consumer's changing quickly. They're not keeping up. They're doing the same old marketing. I'll add to that they have these limiting beliefs. Many small business owners have limiting beliefs around great marketing is going to take a lot of time. It's going to cost a lot of money. It's complicated.
I've got to outsource it.
I've got to outsource it. I've got to get a funky mic. I've got to get a studio. I've got to get an editor, a graphic designer. I've got to do all these things. My wish around that is that if people like you and I can help them see marketing as a hobby, it sounds a bit wacky, I know, but if they see it as a hobby, when something's a hobby, you love doing it. You can't wait to do it again. You'll find some dough to throw at it, some time to throw at it, and it's just a fun thing to do.
And also, the more you do it, the better you got at it. The better you get at it. The more you do it, the better you get at it. So videos, again, coming back to that, it's just about starting, and the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be with it, and the more naturally it will come to you.
Totally. And enjoy that uncomfortableness because people like that. I mean, particularly if you're a service business, people buy from people, right? So if you've got a stutter. If you're a bit nervous, be nervous, and you'll get better at it. I mean, I look back to my first episode, a little bit embarrassing.
It is actually. Wow. The last big episode.
I wasn't, really?
No.
No, just go with that. I'm always open to constructive criticism. Anyway, lovely to have you on the show and see you later. So, look, they're doing a few things wrong. They could be doing things better. We're not here to castigate them for what they're doing wrong. We're here to inspire them as to what they could be doing.
No, and I think if there's one message for them to take out of this episode with their marketing, it's time to be brave with your marketing. It's time to be brave to do things that make you feel uncomfortable, that take you outside your comfort zone, that force you to tell your story a little bit more, which makes small business owners feel uncomfortable sometimes. But that is where the magic is, and that's where their unique brand proposition is. No one can compete with you. And I think we're in an era where storytelling is just a critical, fundamental part of marketing, whether you like it or not. And your story, your why, is something that none of your competitors can compete with. So the more that you're injecting and incorporating that into your marketing, the greater competitive advantage you're creating with your marketing. So
by being brave, let's explore that because I love the idea of, more and more business owners being brave. Does that mean that they need to stop their Facebook ads and going to networking events and cancel the local paper, 10 by 2 they've been running, or do they continue to do that, but they also look and edge out of that square into things like what?
Yeah, content marketing. So making a video that tells your story about why you decided to become a financial planner, why you decided to start your business, what you do that's unique, you and I talk about video content. There's so much you can do with it, frequently asked questions, and really leveraging that content and being brave enough to put it out there, knowing that not everyone's going to like it. I think that as small business owners, now more than ever, we need to take the risk with our marketing, knowing that sometimes it might be polarizing, and we need to be comfortable with, we need to have the courage to be disliked.
Yep.
Because I think playing it safe is
boring.
It's just not going to get cut through. So I think being a successful small business owner, marketer now is about being brave and producing marketing that literally cuts through the noise.
Yep. Okay. So I'm going to just go through those 6 videos you talked about, because clearly video is one aspect of being brave. Why is video brave? It's because you got to put yourself out there in front of a camera, and that feels awkward. It's potentially complicated, I suppose. It's not, but many think it is. Potentially expensive. It's not. Many think it is. So what are the 6 videos that all small business owners should be creating? You want to run through those?
Yeah, so they all start with peace. They're easy to remember.
Clever.
We'll put a
was that
link.
just like your OCD kicking in,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
was it just
so
an absolute coincidence?
Just so I can remember them.
So the first one is a pretty good story.
Yeah, well, your positioner. So your positioner video is your story. What is it about you or your business that is unique?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's about the video that positions you in the unique part, Stop it.
Sorry, I'm making faces at Amanda. I'm trying to make her laugh.
So immature.
I know.
Yeah, so it positions you in your sector, in the hearts and minds of your
I'm guessing you've
audience.
done each of these 6 videos. You have an example in your own business. So what's an example of what's your positioning video? What are you going on about?
Yeah, so last year I produced a video which actually was a game changer for my business, and a video that I called 2018, the year of the customer. So I wanted to be positioned as
known as that.
The expert in anything to do with customer service, customer experience, the future of consumers. And so, I produced a video that was called 2018,
Brilliant.
the year of the customer.
So the positioning
positioned
video, the question you need to ask in order to go and record that is, what do I want to be known for?
Yeah, what do you want to be famous for?
What do you want to be famous? Love it.
Yeah.
That's a great, because again, some small business owners will cringe at that. I won't name names because that would be unfair, but they would. But I remember when I worked in advertising, my boss Peter Clemenger at the time said to me one day, he said, "Tim, do you know why you're here?" And I said, "I'm here to create advertising for clients." He goes, "No, you're not. You're here to make your clients famous." And now, as small business owners, you can make yourself famous. So love it. Okay. Positioning.
And remember that you don't need to be famous. You don't need to be famous. You just need to be famous to the right number of people.
Yes.
Seth Godin says, don't try and be famous to everyone. Just be famous to the 3,000 people that matter. You don't need to have an epic number of people in your tribe. You just need to be epic to the people in your tribe.
So the idea there is identify your tribe. Classic again. Let's go back to marketing 101 here. Go back and identify your tribe. Understand who they are, not just demographically, but what keeps them up at night. What does success look like for them? How can you make them feel good? What's the biggest question they have that you can solve? And in knowing that, then your positioning video will sort of flow out. I would have thought,
and be helpful.
Nice
to them, and be very clear who you are and what you stand for and what you can do for your tribe.
Okay, next video.
Next one is what I call point of view. So that's having a point of view on it. Could be a current topic. It could be, what you stand for. It could be an opinion piece. And again, this is about producing content and marketing that potentially polarizes people. But that's where we get traction, and that's where we get attention, and that's where we cut through the noise.
Your positioning video goes on the front of your website, I'm guessing.
Yep.
Where's a point of view video go? So that sounds like a blog to me, like a one-off.
Video blog.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a number of ways that you can repurpose that as well. Obviously across social channels.
Okay. So it is a one-off that at a point in time you've gone, and you might have a number of point of views.
Yes.
Like, I know you want to talk about the Nike ad shortly in regards to being brave and being epic in your marketing. But so that could be a point of view. Just seeing this ad, you have a point of view on it, how it can apply to other businesses, yeah?
Yeah. So it's a point of view is more about this is what you believe about a particular topic.
Right.
And the next one that I talk about is perspective. So this is a little bit different. So this is your perspective on a current issue. So for example, we're recording this podcast today on International Women's Day, which is a topical date or an event that happens, and you might record a video that is your point of view on a current event, or it could be something that's newsworthy, something that's come out, perhaps the Royal Commission reports come out. So if you're a mortgage broker, you might produce a video on what your point of view is on that or your perspective on that particular topic
And
or
that's
event.
putting a stake in the ground and standing for something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Polarising people,
Potentially
big deal.
polarizing, but potentially to your tribe, being very clear on what you stand for and having an opinion.
Manda,
Yeah.
happy International Women's
Happy.
Day.
Thank you.
When's International Men's Day is more important to
Well,
me.
won't it be great when we don't need International
Correct.
Women's Day?
Correct.
And it can be International Everything Day.
International People's Day.
Yes.
Which is kind of every day, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Imagine the Martians looking down and go, why are they kind of separating that 50% of the population and having a day for them? They wouldn't talk like that. They'd have a Martian voice. They wouldn't sound like me.
What would a Martian voice sound like?
I don't know. We'd have to put some kind of audio, kind of weird sound effect over it. But anyway. So video number 4.
Video number 4 is promotional. So this is where you use short form video to promote a particular event. Could be an offer that you have, some sort of promotion or discount or package or something that's has a short-term offer around it.
Mm-hmm.
So I use promotional videos, for example, to promote events that I'm speaking at. So yeah, these obviously have a shorter lifespan.
So not all these videos, when you said 6 videos every business must have, I was thinking 6 sort of evergreen videos that sit, on your social, on your website, in your email signature. But no, some of these are quite tactical and have a short life. Others are evergreen, right?
Yeah, others you can repurpose ongoing for a long time.
This is brave right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
This is, doing video, even for someone like me who, I speak for a living, I sometimes get anxious around doing video because it is, particularly if you're doing a point of view or a perspective video, it is putting yourself out there.
Can we just talk about that for a minute, the anxious thing, the nerves thing? You speak all the time. I podcast every week, speak occasionally. The nerves are there. I'm glad they're there.
It's a good
thing. They
thing.
make you show up.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening thinking, oh, it's all right for Tim and Amanda, they could go and smash these videos out. No, we can't. We plan them. We run through them in our minds. We know that we're going to be nervous still when we get to when someone hits record. There's a certain weird change in your body chemistry that you kind of have to control in order to not speak like this as soon as the record button goes on and allocute every word to within an inch of its life. The nerves are good. And again, just be yourself,
Which, it's a challenge. I sometimes, when I'm doing videos, I find if I'm doing a few in a row, start to get into my newsreader voice as I'm presenting. So I've got to pull myself up. Everyone has their own idiosyncrasies and challenges and fears when it comes to video. And I think the biggest fear is not the recording and the making of the video. It's sometimes the releasing of the video.
Yes.
That's sometimes where the nerves, and I think
right.
that's what stops a lot of people wanting to do video, because they know they've then got to release it into the ether, whether that's on a social channel or on their blog. And then it's that waiting and fearful of what will people think. And
there's this mindset, it's like, oh, there's all these people waiting for me to hit the launch button and post and publish. It's actually there's no one? No one?
No one.
So just go for it and be brave.
But sometimes you do get lucky and you have a video or a piece of content that goes viral, and we'll talk about that in a moment.
Number 5.
This is the one I think that a lot of small business owners struggle with, and that's their personal video.
Oh, yeah.
So this is what I mentioned before about your why. So what is your story? And sometimes your customers will engage with why you do what you do just as much as what you do.
Yes.
And this is your opportunity to create a competitive advantage through your story, because no one can compete with that. So I think that this is about getting very clear on what your story is, what's your why, and telling that in a really emotional way. And that often gets really incredible cut through. And this was actually a real surprise for me. I recorded a video. I was finding that a lot of people were asking me how I got into speaking. And when I told them the story, they were like, oh, that's really interesting. And so even though I was talking to audiences about this, the importance to tell your story, I was not doing it myself. So it was a real aha moment for me. And I recorded this video called Meet Amanda, and it was the story about how I got into speaking and, just my journey really. And what's been really interesting for me is that when I send proposals out, I get the software I use gives me real insights around how people are interacting with the content in that proposal. And what surprised me even is that of all of the videos that I put into my proposals, the Meet Amanda video gets the most engagement. So it's not the expensive fancy show reels that I put in there. It's actually this, quite inexpensive, bit raw video about my story and how I got into speaking.
And, again, many listeners are going, oh, but my story, I don't have a story.
Everyone has a story.
Everyone.
Doesn't matter what you do. There is a story there about your why, or how you got into it, or what it is that gets you up in the morning.
So I was speaking at a conference a few years ago, a bunch of insurance brokers, bloke at the back of the room, about 70. He looked like Bob Catter. For overseas listeners, that's an Australian politician.
He's a good-looking rooster then.
He's a bit of a wacko. His name was Jack. Jack, we started talking about why. I said, everyone's got a story. Jack goes, I haven't got a story. I said, you probably have. I said, why did you become an insurance broker? He goes, I like helping people. I go, that's not your story, Jack, and I think there's something deeper. And he paused, he got a little bit emotional, and he reflected back on when he was a young man in late teens. His father passed away. His family were his brothers and sisters taken out of school, had to sell the family house. They didn't know where their next meal was coming from. He said the reason for that is Dad never had insurance, and as a result, Mum wasn't working. So as a result, we were left destitute. He made a point when he was 17 that he was never going to let that happen to his family if he was ever lucky enough to have one, and that's why he sells insurance.
Wow.
Right there.
Yeah.
Who's not going to buy insurance from Jack?
Yeah.
That's his story.
He's not selling insurance.
No.
He's actually in it for the emotional reason.
Absolutely.
And this is, again, what we as small business owners have to come back to is what's the real business you're in?
Yes.
And the answer to that question is often how you can make that personal video. And again, it's just such a powerful marketing tool. There's so many ways that you can use it, and it's your story. None of your competitors can compete with that or touch you when you're brave enough to tell that story.
True. Video number 6.
This is proof. So this is testimonial videos, using case studies. Again, really, really powerful, really underutilized strategy in business. Some people have testimonials on their video on their website, but there's a big difference between a static testimonial that says, Tim R from Noosa says da-da-da-da-da, and a really beautiful video that tells the story, more of a case study format. So I think that proof videos, again, that is epic marketing right there because it's storytelling at its finest.
You and I didn't come together today to talk about video marketing, but it is a great example of being brave in your marketing. It's a great example of forcing small business owners to step out of their comfort zone and start to do some things around their own personal brand and their business brand that are going to challenge them, make them feel uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, it's actually not about them or about us. It's about their customers. How would you describe yourself, Steve-O? I was going to say...
I'm the consumer futurist.
Like that, the consumer futurist. And I know you've put a bit of work into that. And again, great example. I mean, you can say you're a marketing speaker, but, you've put thought into it and positioned yourself. Because, the thinking around that is, you want to be known as the person who represents the consumer on behalf of the business owner. And you also know the word futurist in the world of speaker bureaus and the world of people who book conferences is a kind of hot word, right? And it's interesting to know what are the hot words in your industry. So you've combined those, and as a result, you're charging about $50,000 a keynote, which I think is fantastic.
If only. I wouldn't be sitting here if I would.
Wow,
no,
really?
Of course I would.
Really?
Of course I would. Look, I think this comes back to, I think, a really critical piece of the jigsaw that small business owners need to get right now more than ever, which is your positioning. And I think that in this noisy world that we're living in business, and with things changing so rapidly, we need to get cut through, and it's got to start with our positioning. So I've worked pretty hard in the last almost 12 months, and I've consulted external experts and really have landed on consumer futurist as an evolution of where I've been. So it's not a huge shift from what I've been doing or what I've been known as, but it's just a very clear position of, I'm the one who understands consumers and also can help businesses look to the future, which is what we're all needing to do.
So let's talk about the consumer. You said they've changed and many business owners aren't keeping up in regards to their marketing. How has the consumer changed in the past 12 months? That's a very short period of time.
I think things are changing so rapidly, mainly driven by technology. Consumers, the way that consumers are purchasing now, the way we're interacting with brands, the way we're forming brand loyalty is very different to what it was even 12 months ago. And we look at certain industries, I talk about some trends that are really interesting trends that are happening with the way that consumers are purchasing. One is the kit economy, for example. So we're now looking for convenience. Convenience is driving a lot of purchase decisions now more than ever because we're all so time poor. We view our time now as consumers as far more valuable than we did even 12 months ago. We're all valuing our own time more and more because we've got less of it. So really smart marketers are coming up with solutions that not only save their customers time but potentially give them time and do that in a really clever way that gets cut through. So, for example, HelloFresh is a great example of a brand that hasn't been in Australia for that long. 2011, they delivered their first box in Australia. So for those of you who don't know, HelloFresh is a meal kit service where you get a delivery once a week which has meal kits in it that make preparing a delicious meal, really easy. It takes out the two most time-consuming aspects of cooking. One is deciding what to cook and secondly is the shopping. There's probably a premium that you pay for that. So HelloFresh delivered its first box in Australia in 2011 and last year they turned over $200 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
All
so
through
the kit
convenience.
Economy is alive and well. So I say
And you mean kit as in you mean literally a kit, like HelloFresh comes in a box.
Yeah,
is that the kit?
Yeah, it's a kit.
Okay.
So it's tapping into the convenience economy really.
Okay. Yeah. Can that apply to a service-based business? Can we think of, I've just given the old accountants a bit of a serve, the way they talk.
Absolutely.
How could an accountant or a masseur or a chiropractor, embrace the kit economy?
By making it easy to purchase, that they might look at more of a subscription model, which is essentially a kit.
So we don't need to look at this literally like it has to be a physical kit.
It doesn't have to be a physical kit. It could be a service-based kit.
A package,
package.
The travel industry package things up so that it's not just an airfare and a 10 nights accommodation, but they give it a romance package or the kids escape package or whatever it is.
Yeah, so I'm working with some hairdressers at the moment around how they can tap into the kit economy. So bundling their services with their physical product and adding value into that and then offering basically a monthly subscription where people know that customers know they're getting incredible value, but from the hairdresser's point of view, it's delivering them a very predictable, ongoing revenue stream. So I think, if you think about our own purchase behaviours, how many subscriptions we're a part of now, particularly tech products, but we're starting to see that permeate into all sorts of industries.
Okay, so convenience is a key factor in the way consumers are changing. We're chasing convenience because we're time poor. How else are we changing? I mean, technology, in terms of the way media is so fragmented these days. I mean, I'd hate to be the boss of a TV station or a TV network because, 10 years ago, good job, everyone's watching telly, but all of a sudden, how often do we watch telly? We've got Netflix, we've got Stan.
I was at a dinner party last night with 5 girlfriends. So there were 6 of us at the table and we had this very conversation. We worked out that it had been a minimum of 6 weeks since any of us have watched commercial television.
It's unreal, isn't it?
Back when you and I worked in advertising, it was if you wanted to target high-income earning women 25 to 40, it was relatively easy.
Pick the programs.
Yeah, pick the programs.
Charge hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, and now it's really, really hard for big brands but that's really good news for small business owners because it means that you're able to now compete with your biggest competitors. Think of the biggest operator in your industry and it's now easier for you to compete with them than ever before. Because 10 years ago, they could just outspend you. But now it's about being very, very clever and there's ways that you can actually outsmart your biggest competitors because you're far more agile. You're able to reach the same customer base, basically, and you can potentially do it in a much smarter, cost-effective way.
Yeah. I mean, I turn the TV on sometimes at night and I think I'm going to flick through the channels because that's still what's in my psyche, having grown up that way. But within 2 minutes, I am stuck in the deepest, most far-reaching YouTube black hole that has been ever known to man. I can go from watching behind-the-scenes Rolling Stones footage to listening to what Brian Cox has to say about whether there are Martians somewhere out there, and then everything in between. I mean, it's quite hilarious.
Yeah.
And, then I might go and read a blog or, listen to my show. No, I wouldn't listen to my show. I'd listen to another podcast. But it is very fragmented, and it's great because, as you say, all these changes are playing right into the hands of the small business owner, because the small guys can now compete against brands with much deeper pockets.
Absolutely. And compete in ways that sometimes we don't realise just the opportunity and advantage that we have. I talk to a lot of small business owners about marketing, creating epic marketing from the inside out. And what I mean by that is realising that your customer experience is such a huge part of your marketing. It's no longer, marketing exists here and your customer service sits over here. The experience that your customers are having with your brand is now an integral part of your marketing, much more so, I think, than even what you're doing with your brand externally. And that's where small business owners have an advantage over big businesses because, I'm sure we've all been into big retailers recently and had an awful customer experience because
they bore me.
It's awful.
They bore me. Going to, I'm going to say it because they're never going to sponsor this show. Like a Myers.
Go, Timo, go.
Or a David Jones. I mean,
you're lucky if you can find someone to
know.
serve you, to take your money, let alone actually help you.
It's just boring.
But this is where small business owners need to get really excited, particularly for the retailers who are listening. I know for a fact that it's pretty rare for big retailers to invest in their staff because their view is, well, if I train, because retail's viewed very differently as a career here compared to, say, the United States, where it's a career. You go into retail and you literally that is your career path. Yeah. Here it's a stepping stone.
Here it's an inconvenience.
It's an inconvenience. So retailers and name any big retailer, and their view is, well, if
you name one?
Go on,
you get into trouble. Yeah.
What if I train my staff and they leave? And I say, what if you don't train them and they stay?
Yes.
And so this is where, again, I keep saying it, but small business owners have an opportunity to create a competitive advantage through delivering epic experiences for their customers.
Well, let's talk about that. One of my most popular episodes of all time almost is with Joshua Nichols from Platinum Electricians, who goes through the 21-step customer mantra, which is all about the customer experience. In fact, I replayed that only about a year ago. Customer experience, just redefine briefly what it is and how can a small business owner go about creating one that's going to completely separate them from their competition.
Yeah, I mean, Josh is a good example where he's built his entire business on the on the customer experience as his competitive advantage. And my whole mantra is you're I guess in business, what you need to be doing is not striving for satisfied customers. Far too many businesses strive for customer satisfaction. And customer satisfaction just doesn't cut it anymore.
Just not to get a complaint would seem like a good outcome.
Yeah,
for many.
For a lot of big businesses. So I talk about having a customer experience that's literally worthy of a Friday night dinner party conversation. Nice. So everything in your marketing, whether it's your customer experience or your content or your videos, the question you have to ask yourself as a small business owner is this shareable? Would I share this? Would I share this video? Would I share this experience? Would I tell my friends? Would I write a review? What is it that's epic about your customer experience?
Isn't that a great question to ask? As more and more of our listeners sit down and think about how can I be epic, how can I be brave, instead of thinking about what can I do, think about how can I make what I'm about to do be the conversation of a Friday night dinner party.
Yeah. Is it worthy? Is it shareable? Is it epic enough for people to talk about it?
Okay, so this is easy to say. This is where I get a little bit kind of, I don't know, almost a bit, I feel guilty of saying, well, okay, guys, do shareable stuff. Make sure whatever you do, you're in dinner party conversation, but how?
All right, well, let's break it down and let's what I would like to leave the listeners today with is a bit of a model using the word epic, because that's the theme really, is we've got to be epic with our marketing, we've got to be epic with our customer experience. So what does epic actually mean? So epic, let's break it down. So E stands for engaging and enthusiastic. So is your content engaging? And what I mean by that is that is it interesting? I know that sounds really obvious, but most of the marketing that I see is boring.
Yeah. Yep.
And again, it's what maybe worked 10 years ago. So we've got to be literally willing to do things differently, to be authentic, to be funny, and just
not necessarily funny, but funny's a nice
way to
strategy.
do it. Yeah. So being engaging and enthusiastic. Again, I know this sounds really obvious, but I'm just amazed at how many people, when I ask them about their business, they say, "Oh, I'm a mortgage broker," and I just go, "Really?
Boring."
And then I say to them,
Don't you help people to realise the biggest purchase decision of their life and move into the home of their life and live happily ever after? But they're probably kind of got this mindset that, I create debt for people, but they want it, so I do it, which is not...
But that's not the enthusiastic answer, is it?
No.
Yeah. So our enthusiasm for our own, our marketing has to start with us as our own ambassador.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've got to catch yourself. And again, using a mortgage broker, for example, I often say to them, don't live in your world, live in your customer's world. Mm-hmm. You're doing this numerous times a week, and sometimes the way that you have conversations with your customers reflect the fact that you're doing it numerous times a week. It doesn't reflect the fact that this is potentially the only time this person is going to take out a mortgage. It's the biggest financial decision. So have some enthusiasm around that for them.
And to that point, understand, be in your customer's head, understand where they're at. Are they excited? Are they nervous?
Fearful?
Classic example, a friend of mine called a doctor recently. She was in a new area, was nervous about setting up an appointment with the doctor. The person at the other end of the phone was anything but engaging or helpful, or you don't have to be enthusiastic. But this person working in a doctor's surgery, when you're answering the phone, you probably should be cognizant of the fact that probably a lot of people calling because they're really scared or they're really sick. So be a bit empathetic towards them.
Yeah.
Understand where your customer is at and pitch your messages accordingly.
Did you say empathetic, Timbo? Because that begins with E as well.
Stop it. Can we
engaging, enthusiastic and empathetic.
Yeah, or we could go epic. And that would be like South African epic.
No, New Zealanders.
New Zealanders, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll add an empathetic to that.
And empathy, I think, is so important. I went to the optometrist recently. I was actually, funnily enough, mystery shopping for a optometry client. So I decided to have the whole experience, went and had an eye test. And so I'm just mystery shopping, right? So I didn't expect this to be the outcome that the optometrist said, well, you actually, do have a bit of a issue and you need glasses. And so I was sort of a bit taken aback because this is not how this was supposed to go. No. And he could tell that I was a little bit surprised. And his exact words to me, I kid you not, were, don't feel special. This happens to everyone over 40.
Oh, wow. Just slap him?
Look, from his point of view, he was probably trying to say, look, it happens to everyone. But the fact that he started the sentence with "don't feel special."
Yeah, wow. So it was a double whammy.
Yeah, don't worry, I didn't feel special.
Not at all. Wow.
So that's a really good example of a conversation and a customer experience that's coming from his world, not his customer's world.
Correct. And it is, as business owners, it is hard. We forget, we get stuck in our own little world and our own little ways, and it's great to have that tap on the shoulder every now and then and go, hey, represent the customer. They're paying your bills, and they're who you want to make sure they love what you do and talk about your dinner parties. What's the P in epic?
P is positive. So being positive in your marketing. I see far too many marketing campaigns where the message is negative, and it's either comparing to competitors or using negative messaging or fear-based messaging. And it's just not, the research is showing that it's just not what consumers are resonating with.
We turn off.
Yeah. We see enough negativity in the news. And the second big one on P is personalised. So this whole trend that we're seeing around customisation and personalisation is just so powerful. I know you've had Mom Purse.
Yes.
Alana. A business that's purely built on personalisation. So, yeah, we're seeing this real trend where consumers are wanting the customised experience, the personalised experience. And this is where, as small business owners, again, we have an advantage because we can literally bring in the best of high tech and the best of high touch.
Let me understand that. High tech, high touch. So as you were talking about personalised, I'm thinking, because you've got these beacons in retail outlets now where, and if you've got the app for that store and you walk into that store, then the beacon, the little black box in the store, is going to know, oh, Amanda's in here, and it might send you a notification that say, hey, we know you love, the pink pom-pom beanie. Don't know why I thought that, but, you're not going to believe, I don't know, but you're not going to believe it. The beacon tells you they're on sale.
Yeah.
So that's high tech.
That's high tech. And I think, bring it back to small business owners, we also have access to amazing automation. I mean, isn't it incredible that we live in an era where we can automate and leverage technology to be more productive, to scale our businesses in ways that weren't even possible 5 years ago. But I think that we're seeing a real pendulum swing back where consumers are really resonating with brands that offer that highly personalised service. So it might be, for example, that your database program, your CRM, gives you rich data on when people's birthdays are, when they started, when they first were a customer of yours. And so this whole concept of personalised milestone marketing, I think is really important. So taking, even on, LinkedIn, when you get the birthday notifications, I've just been experimenting with that recently where I will get a birthday notification, but rather than send them, or a work anniversary, who wants to get those messages on LinkedIn like, oh, happy 11 years for working at this company, boring. If it's, take it offline and send them something.
Correct. Yeah,
the high-tech, high-touch, I think that the combination of that's really powerful.
Okay, so we've got positive and personalised. The I.
The I is being interested rather than interesting and involved. Now, what I mean by that is being interested in your customers rather than interesting.
Yes, show curiosity.
Yeah.
Yep.
So rather than talking about you, your brand, your product, your service, actually making it about your customer. And I'll give you a really simple example. I was in a hair salon in Perth recently. And when you go into hair salons, and often on their walls they'll have their awards and, what awards they've won and all that sort of thing. In this salon, I thought was really clever. They had a wall of fame, and it was photos, professional photos of all of their customers who'd been a customer for more than 10 years.
Brilliant.
And I thought that is so clever. Number one, it makes those customers feel really special and probably reduces the chance that they will leave the salon. But secondly, what it did for me as a first-time customer was say this is a business
that keeps their customers.
That keeps their customers and also values their customers and, values their customers more than they value their own awards.
You could even do it for less than 10 years, a long time.
Yeah.
Couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just smaller photos, like this little passport photos for the 2 years. And then it's like 10 years, it's like this massive A1 print.
Yeah. It's a big political poster. But it also just says that this business, that not only that they value their customers, but they're a business that is about relationships rather than transactions. And I think that your marketing needs to reflect, what is it saying? What is your marketing saying? What is your website saying? Is it saying that you're a business that transacts with your customers or that you have long-term relationships? And I think the answer to that very much can dictate not only where you choose to market, but how you market.
The C in Epic.
The C is being customer-centric, and we've sort of touched on that already, but being consistent. So again, ask yourself, are you living in your world or are you living in your customer's world? And how consistent is your marketing? And this brings us back to this content issue that so many small business owners, and I know I struggle with it, is just it feels like a chore to be having to produce content all the time. Gary Vee talks about producing 100 pieces of content a day.
Oh, he's got to shut up, that bloke. He talks way too much. Way too much.
That may be over the top.
He's just too above me on the iTunes ladder, which really pisses me off. I just cannot, what can I do?
Well, maybe after this episode, you never know.
You might be, okay.
We'll have Gary Vee on the run. If you're listening, Gary Vee, hi.
Hi.
So, being consistent with your marketing. And, one thing that Gary Vee does say that I think has a lot of merit is you are not the one to judge your content. the market will judge your content.
Sure.
So I think we're too focused on, is it perfect? We're too scared of what people will think. We're too scared of polarizing people. I think as small business owners, more than ever now, it's not only about being brave, it's also having the courage to be disliked.
Yes.
And you will get far more cut through by having a point of view. And that's why, whether it's videos or non-video, having a perspective, having a point of view, that's what gets cut through and makes your marketing epic, rather than this vanilla, hey, this is what we do. And it's just not going to work now or in the future.
I'm amazed. I'll go out and if I am speaking at a conference and someone comes up and says, I listened to your show and been listening to it for a while, and say, what episodes have you loved? And because I always like, when someone gives you positive feedback, I think that's great, but where's the constructive feedback? So what did you like? What didn't you like? And they'll say, I love that episode. And I'm like, wow, I really didn't like that episode. I felt I was off point. I thought my guest was low, whatever it was. So, yeah, for me to sit here and judge, my content, it's just hope you got to put it out there and let the market judge and get that feedback, because that's who you're doing it for.
Absolutely. And you've also got to be brave enough to be future focused. I think, one of my favourite sayings is you're allowed to look in the rear vision mirror, but you're not allowed to stare. And I think that applies, just as much as with our personal lives as with our marketing. We're focused on what worked yesterday rather than what's going on in our consumers' world. What does our customer of tomorrow look like, and what are their needs going to be, and how can we deliver on those in exciting and anticipatory ways. So I think that more than ever, small business owners need to almost be their own consumer futurists.
Steve, we been going a while, loving this conversation. A couple of things before we wrap up. We both agree the marketing world's changed, and what I will ask you if there's anything else you kind of want to just kind of really. That's a really bad interview question, by the way. It's like, and just before we finish, anything else you'd like to say? And it's like that opens the floodgates. But I know that you're a pro, and I know that you're just going to leave us with just a little bit of gold. However, bright shiny object syndrome. We've commented the marketing world has changed. The consumer's moving at a rate of knots. There is always something new in this marketing world, whether it be a new social media platform or a new way, Facebook are allowing to do this, or Insta allowing to do this, or whatever it is. Do we chase those bright shiny objects, or do we stick to the fundamentals?
I think we've got to constantly bring it back to what is going on with our customers, rather than what's the medium, because there's so many new things, and we're all guilty of bright shiny things syndrome, because there's so many cool new things to do and be across and leverage. But I think it needs to come back to what's going on in our customers' world, and rather than the medium, what message is going to really resonate with them. And one of the simple strategies that I think any small business owner can do to ensure that you are constantly maintaining that sense of customer centricity, whether that be with your marketing, your content, your customer experience, is put a customer advisory board together. As small business owners, we make far too many decisions that are subjective, and having a customer advisory board is a really powerful, cost-effective way. You recruit 8 to 10 existing customers, you officially appoint them to an advisory board. You meet with them monthly. It's always a good idea to have an external facilitator. And you use it as a sounding board to say, hey, this is what we're doing with our marketing. What do you think? This is what we're thinking about doing with our marketing. What do you think? What would really help you? What could we do to be helping you? What could we be doing to up our customer experience? From your perspective, what are we doing that's, not as good as our competitors? What could we be doing that's better? And you'll be amazed at the level of insight that you will get.
So I think it's a great idea. Theoretically, sounds brilliant, and I can see it working real time practically. Steve Jobs would have hated it, I reckon. Didn't know Jobsy, but I reckon if Steve Jobs had have gone out to his customer advisory board, maybe you're going to tell me he had one, I don't know, but I think back when he invented the iPod, he's gone out and to the customers and said, hey, listen, you can throw away all your LPs and CDs now, because in this little white box, you can put them all. I would have thought people would have gone, nah, there's too much emotional attachment to your LPs and your CDs. So I guess my point or my question for you is, out of the advisory board, do you then listen to everything the customer has to say? Or do you just go, thank you, I'm going to take it on board and use your intuition to then
Absolutely.
implement?
I wouldn't use it. I wouldn't suggest using a customer advisory board as your sole platform for innovation in your business. You know, as Henry Ford says, if you'd asked people what they wanted, it would have been a faster horse.
Faster horse.
So I'm not saying that that's your platform for innovation, but I am saying it's a way for you to have a constant, to be able to view your business through the eyes of your customer, which as a small business owner, when you're wearing so many hats, is the biggest challenge because you get so close to it, you're living and breathing, you can't see the forest for the trees, and it's very difficult, particularly from a marketing perspective, to make clear decisions when you've got so many options. You know, what do I do? Where do I spend my money? What do I dial up? What do I dial down? So just having that advisory board is a really good way to sense check the decisions that you're making. But certainly I think you've got to combine that with looking at external research, for example, look at external customer research. And as I said, be your own consumer futurist. Look at what trends are happening that are not only in your industry but peripheral to your industry, and then use that as a platform for innovation.
Steve, I'm going to wrap things up. I hope that out of this there is a sense amongst those listening that there is hope in their marketing. Stop doing what you've always done. If you're getting the same results, if they're good results, keep doing it. But if they're kind of meh results, you know that word, meh,
yeah,
meh, then it's time to do something different. And even, keep doing 75% of what you're doing, but stop 25% and replace it with something brave or epic or a question that's going to allow you to get spoken about at the dinner party or the barbie.
Absolutely. Being epic in your marketing is about an evolution, not a revolution.
Nice. We're talking about an evolution. Come on. Yeah.
Stick to your podcasting.
Wow. Gee, get nothing. I just loved having you along, or just kick the mic and, it's like having a little friend in the studio just bantering about marketing and stuff.
I love it. And I love it when you see small business owners take that leap of faith and do something that's, is outside their comfort zone.
Yeah.
And it just reveals their authenticity and their story. Tell your story. That's kind of the message I'd want to leave people with.
Love your work. amandastevens.com.au is probably, you can find all those videos. You've got an ace blog. You're prolific in your blogging. How many books have you authored?
5. Working on my 6th book at the moment.
What's been your favourite book, just out of interest?
To write?
Yeah.
Or to read?
To write.
Turning customers into advocates.
Yeah, you love that one, don't
Definitely.
you? What's the new one?
It's called Epic. Yeah,
Clever.
How to build an epic brand.
Right. You should have talked about that. Oh, we did. Hang on, we did.
It's all about epic. Be epic. Be epic. Be epic or go home.
That's like a song. We could write that. Be epic. Be epic. Be epic.
Let's do a rap version, I reckon.
amandastevens.com.au. Love your work.
Thanks for having me, Timbo.
There you go. Consumer Futurist and Australian Keynote Speaker of the Year for 2018, no less, Amanda Stevens. Be sure to hang around after my top 3 attention grabber as another listener wins a few $100s worth of prizes. In fact, I'll go as far as saying $1,000 worth of prizes for sharing what marketing is working for them. Now, here's what grabbed my attention from our chat with Amanda. Attention grabber number 1. I love the idea of a customer advisory board. Genius. Simple, really. If you want to explore that further, I'll put a link over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/454 to a blog post Amanda wrote about exactly that, the customer advisory board. Attention grabber number 2. I love this quote. Make your marketing worthy of a Friday night dinner party conversation. Love it. Genius. Why wouldn't you? Make your marketing amazing. If you want to explore that topic further, have a listen to an interview I did with Chick-fil-A owner. He's not a chick, he's a bloke. Just the name of the business. Arthur Greeno, who talks at length about this whole concept of remarkable marketing. He takes it to another level. He breaks Guinness World Records in order to get exposure for his business. I'll put a link in the show notes to that interview as well. Attention grabber number 3. I love Amanda's view that we all need to be epic in our marketing from the inside out, and that starts with creating an epic customer experience. Love the whole concept of customer experience. I'll put a link in the show notes to another interview I've done on that topic as well. That's what grabbed my attention. Whatever grabbed yours, big idea, small idea, just block some time out of your diary and implement it.
Come on down. It's Timbo's Monster Prize Draw.
Oh, yes, indeedly, doodly. It's that time of the episode. I love this segment, Monster Prize Draw, where I get to give away loads of prizes to a very precious listener. It could be you if you've written in, who shares what marketing is working for them and what impact it's having on their business. All you got to do, just email me that. One idea you've heard from the show, how it's impacted your business, you win. And today's winner is Drew Blackman of KRGS Doors. He didn't win this because of the business name. I can assure you of that. KRGS Doors. What's going on there? Drew, love your work, mate. And here's what Drew had to say. He says, "Hey, Timbo." Hey, Drew. "I'm an avid listener of your show and am in the process of getting our own podcast for our company." I love that. I love seeing other business owners get a podcast. I know I'm biased, but why wouldn't you have a podcast? Why wouldn't you create your own media platform? And here's a guy with a roller door business and he's creating a podcast. I'd love to know what it's about. Drew, when you get it done, mate, send it through. Love to hear an episode. I go back to Drew's email. However, one idea we took from our show was to do a video of an improvement we made to one of our products that we have launched. And rather than email it out, we sent it to our contacts via SMS. Here's the magic. We received responses and inquiries on other products from people that we haven't had repeat business from in 2 years, and in fact, they've been using our opposition. So thanks for the great tips and tricks, Timbo, and keep up the great work. That's a great thing that you've implemented there, Drew. The fact that you are creating a simple little video, it's showing an improvement, it's clearly helpful, it's going to help people develop trust in your business, and they're going to love you for it. And here you are sending it out via text, which I think is a great idea. You know, I don't get any videos sent to me by text at all, if any. Maybe my kids send me a silly one every now and then. Drew also, actually, I won't go through the rest of his email, but he pitches himself up as a possible guest for this show, which I like his pitch. And Drew, I may well be in contact. Hey, buddy, just for doing that, here's what you've won. A pass to the Amex Lounge at Melbourne or Sydney International Airport. That's worth $33. Some $100 worth of tradies underwear. He's my guest next week. More on that in a minute. $50 voucher to buy some Sant and Abel PJs from Sophie, past guest. Basin Essentials pack from Saya Skincare, $79. Carmen's Muesli box for $60. A My DNA test kit for $99. What about this $250 voucher to spend on merchandise at Be Promotive? These are all past guests of the show. Gosh, they're good to me. To you too. You get promotion on this show. I don't know what that's worth. Lots. And a backlink in the show notes. That's priceless. Add that up. That's over $1,000 worth of prizes. I would love to hear what marketing's working for you. Email me, tim@timreid.com.au. If I read it out on air, you win. That almost brings us to the end of episode 454. A reminder that you'll find plenty more where this came from, plus my entire archive lives over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Next episode, we catch up with Ben Goodfellow, the brains behind the tradie underwear and workwear brand. It's a great story of how to create a household name in next to no time. If you're getting value from listening, then please let other business owners know about this podcast, which is presented by me, Timbo Reid. Until next time, thanks for tuning in. Now get out there and take action.